All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 48. I am Blue Squadron,
Yeah,
finally back after
welcome
my
back.
my illness the last few days here. I am joined with my co-host Blonde Bear.
Hello, I'm Blonde Bear, twitch.tv/Blonde Bear. Catch me grinding for the Olin's Merchant piece. Yippee!
Where's the party? He doesn't like parties.
I
He does
love
not
to
like
party.
parties. He does not like parties. Uh, and my boy Jakun.
Hi, my name is Jakun. I'm an Awakening Wusame with 765 gear score. I do a lot of endgame PvE content such as Olin's, the dungeon, and I'm doing some last minute preparations for my VTuber model debut tomorrow at 4 p.m. PST. And you can find me over at twitch.tv/JakunVTV before the T.
Jay,
Hello.
I hate to be this guy, but your VTube model is already here.
You can't. What do you mean? I have a. I'm a pre-debut mouse on.
Baby, it's better if you just keep the bag on.
I have to like test.
You know that meme is coming.
You know?
You know that meme is coming.
Like,
I'm 100% gonna make that joke again next week.
What meme?
It's better when you keep the bag on, honey.
When you do you ever feel like a plastic bag?
Don't get me started on Katy Perry right now. I love Katy Perry.
Good
Katy
music.
Perry. Also, it reminds me of that that movie, The Interview. I love that movie. It's such a good movie.
That's a good one.
All right, so we have a few good topics to talk about this week, guys. The first one is an extremely controversial one, so I'm a little nervous to talk about it. But we will get into it.
Is it controversial?
It is extremely controversial.
It is extremely
Wait,
controversial.
why?
Are you kidding me right now?
Oh.
Solo
Yeah. Arguably
versus
the most-
group content.
Arguably the most controversial.
Yeah,
game.
which is better? Which one do we prefer? Why do we prefer it? And should this game be geared more towards one party or the other? Let's ask up front. I know what your guys' answer. You guys are primarily PvE players, but I'll start with Jay. Jay, do you think that the developers should gear it? Obviously, we have group content and we have party content in BDO. Do you think that they should gear it more towards solo content and then work the group content in over time? Or do you think that it should be group content first and then there should be solo content that you can do on the side? Like, which one do you think they should develop the game around?
I do think the majority of the player base are, in preference of solo play. So I do think maybe they should develop in a way that caters to the majority of the people. And so probably solo content first, and then work around group content is where I'm leaning towards.
Okay, like really, you like the solo gameplay more than the group stuff?
No, I mean, what I prefer is different from like what I think they should work on, like developers to work on. Like I prefer like group content. Like, although I am like more of an introverted person, and anyone that has spent a lot of time with me can probably say that, like, I'm more of a quieter person, someone who lets others speak first, a good listener. And at the same time, I love the idea of going on an adventure with friends and battling mobs together. It's always a great time. And the time goes by so much faster too. Sometimes I'm so focused on chatting with my party members and the grind that I don't even realize the hour is over until my party members tell me as I start pulling the next pack. So I do prefer group content over solo content, but I do think they should prioritize probably the solo content first and then work around developing the group content around it.
Okay, all right. I'm curious, Blonde, do you think that they should develop around party content or solo content?
I have the exact same take as Jay. I think that when you look at a lot of MMOs, the whole point is it's supposed to be like group oriented. You're doing stuff with other people, but BDO is so unique in the sense that as much as it's an MMO, it's an open world. Some of the best parts of BDO is that you don't need people to progress, is that you can work on your own solo progress. Some of the most defeating things in other MMOs to me is like, okay, I need a group for this content, and then, I sit in the group finder and I never get a group, and then I finally get a group and then they kick me halfway through the dungeon or something, and then I'm like, okay, I just wasted 3 hours to get nothing done. Or I could play what BDO does well is let you do your solo progression and also have other means of progression. I think that that's one of the best things about BDO is its ability to allow you for solo progression. As well as I still agree with Jay saying that, like, I personally love group content, and I think there should be more. I don't know if it should be the central focus of like their content, and like let us have a solo player journey, and then also let us have some group stuff if you want to. It's not mandatory.
Okay, here comes my hot take of 2024. You ready? It's an MMO, a multiplayer game, but see, I would agree that the reason a lot of us get into the game is solo play. And there's already a massive amount of solo content in the game. You can basically do almost every aspect of the game solo to this point. I think that moving forward, like from here, the thing that BDO misses the most, like misses the mark on the most, is its group content. I think that if you added more group content and developed around group content, like doing group PvE boss splits, the GVG system, even like dungeons, stuff like this, I think that the game would move in a much more positive direction than just constantly developing solo content. Yes, you can have solo content that you can do on the side, but there's already plenty of solo content in the game. It's time to start developing the game around group content, because that's what we're missing, quite frankly, in my opinion.
I think the stage of the game where I agree that now they should be focusing on group content. I think as the whole of the game, it's okay for the way it's designed. But yes, 90% of the content is all single player, and I think that everything from now on should be geared towards doing stuff in a group. You want players to play together. That's what keeps players continuing to play the game. Sometimes when players get so isolated and they have no forms of like comparing or progression with other players, they lose interest, because it's like, why am I playing if I'm not like here with friends, or if I'm not in a guild, or if I'm not comparing? You know, a lot of people like to compare themselves to other people to like push their goals, and when you don't have like this riding force with you, some players lose motivation. And so I completely agree. I think that most things now should be pushing towards group content, so you just have something fun to do with people.
Yeah, I mean, like we have. Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
I was gonna say another interesting thing is that I know there's a lot of players who also prefer to just play solo, and I think that's okay.
Totally
and
fine.
I thought that was just like an interesting what is it like juxtaposition, that we want to play single player in a multiplayer world and stuff like that. And I think the reason is because we want to play by ourselves in like I guess like a shared world, so that, I don't know, we feel less lonely. If that makes sense.
That
you
was
know, it's
so hurtfully true. That was brutal. The fact that Jay literally just explained the fact that we can relate to women more when we're hiding behind an avatar, because they're actually other men, is kind of crazy. Why'd you even have to go there?
I just thought that was an interesting, fact, I guess.
Oh, it helps being able to interact with people. It's like a second life.
Yeah,
just like
putting yourself in a different world, to explore a different world, to just be like, it's a role playing game, right? I mean, we kind of play these games to escape from.
How ironic is it? How ironic is it that we call BDO an MMORPG, and every time you mention the word RPG, people get really. It's like, oh, you're role playing? What an idiot!
I think it's just the traditional term for this kind of game.
In BDO. No, I know, but like, you would think that a fantasy setting MMO would not cringe at the state of like role playing, but like our community absolutely does. It's crazy.
Well,
what's the first thing you think of when you think of role playing?
There is a large role playing community in BDO.
I wouldn't call it large.
And they are shameless. We have
a
whole channel dedicated to them.
That is true. But like, okay, there was one time. All right, I'm gonna throw this guy under the bus a little bit. But okay, all right. So there was one time where dismantled. This was a while ago. Took Medaya Castle. Okay, if you guys don't know, if you own a region, if you're the GM of a guild that owns a region, and you're walking through one of the towns in that region, the NPCs will actually bow to you, which is super sick. Yeah, it's super, super cool. Anywho, dismantled owned Medaya, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I go to Calpheon 2 right now, if I can't get the NPCs to bow to me, and then there's like RP going on, and then I can pretend I'm the Lord of Medina. You know, it's the first time I've ever tried to RP in the game, right? So I go to Tariff, right? I come RP walking through Tariff, all right? NPCs are kneeling. NPCs are kneeling. There is this huge RP discussion going on. There's like everybody's talking and like RPing about the Tavern Keeper, whatever. And then leaning against a wall, fully participating in the discussion, talking about his Sork is Pax from Notorious. Like the GM of Noto. And like I looked over him and I was like, Pax? And he was like, oh, hey, Blue. He's like pulling up his pants. Like, oh, how you doing, man? It's crazy. What are you doing here? I think there's a part of us. I think we all
they caught you red-handed.
Yeah, I know. I think there's a part of us that all of us love RP to like some extent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the BDO community is kind of cringe. I feel like there's
different like definitions of RP. I feel like just playing your character is role playing.
RP.
Just like just literally just playing your character is just role playing.
Have you ever,
to be honest,
have you ever panned around your Dark Knight in like slow motion while you're grinding? Have you ever casted a skill?
Dark Knight, but
have you ever casted a skill in slow motion, like panned around your character because you thought it was so cool?
Yeah,
and then you like let the animation linger for no reason.
I think they just, you know, they have some really pretty effects in BDO, and just, you know, showing off like to my stream, maybe also to myself, just like seeing all the cool stuff that you can do with your class. I just feel like just you playing your class is literally just role playing. It's just a different definition than role playing, because I think we have like when people think of role play, they think of, you know,
ERP.
There it is.
Well,
yes,
not
sir.
all the way to
there
ERP.
It is, boys.
But that's like the traditional way of thinking, and that's okay to think that way as well if you prefer that way. But I also think my definition of role play is just playing the game. Just like, let's say you play, I don't know, the Hitman series, right? You're role playing as the guy who's playing, you know, the bald guy who's playing Hitman, you know.
And you're playing the role.
You're playing the role, yeah. You're playing the role of a hitman, and so just playing the game, I just think that's considered role play. So
that is true. So like you guys, all right, with the RP aspect of the game, I mean, all of this relating back to like the solo player content. Most players are playing the game like they I don't know. Do you think that the majority of players are solo players? I feel like they are. Yeah, I feel like because they designed the game like this, that most players log in, they try to not interact with other players at all. And like and they just kind of do their thing.
Yep. People get involved in like little communities or discords or guilds, but it's not as massive. A lot of people join guilds just to get buffs, and it's not really something like they'll maybe get in a discord because they're looking for an active community, but it's not as active as people, you know, push it to be. But I think it's because the game's designed that way. Now, if the game shifts, like it seems like it's going to with the new weapon upgrades from the boss content, from the guild stuff, and the way that they're integrating more guild stuff, like the guild boss split, stuff like that, if they continue to do this, like find a reason to be in a guild, because other than PvP, there's no reason to be in a guild unless you want the bosses, and then you could just you could just merc in for that. Like you don't really need to be in a guild. You just kind of want to be for the buffs. But these incentives are going to make it so that people want to be around other people and get in these guilds to, you know, be a part of a community. And I think it's pushing towards that now more than ever, more than it has been in the past, it seems. Because I've never really needed to be in a guild for any PvE or anything, right? Only ever PvP for rewards or whatever, but nothing else, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like a guild is required. I feel like a guild is required, kind of.
Yeah, because of the buffs and stuff. But you're not there for the community. You're there for the because you kind of have to be for the buffs.
That's how you bait him in.
Right. True.
You know what I mean? That's how we baited Jay into doing his very first PvP. Is, hey guys, exclusive rewards, and he was like, all right, I guess. And then he was like, God, I love it when grown men yell at me.
It's a gateway for sure. I just think
that get him, bro.
Not everybody is like fully involved always with their guild. I mean, in my guild where it's like a very friendly new player place, or it was for a little bit, now we're like pushing more gear gold because of the new content coming out. we still only have probably like 20% of the people in the guild actively talking. And we have like an open Discord, people chatting there and all kinds of stuff. But there's like the same handful of people. There's a lot of people that like to just sit around and watch other people chat, and they don't want to participate too. So, but it just, again, it kind of promotes that behavior. I think, again, as they integrate more and more group activities and reasons to do things, like they buff the bosses to have a lot of better rewards now, it feels like, and stuff like that. The new group activities coming with the guilds. I think if they keep doing that, that's going to just make more people want to be doing that stuff in a group with a community, you know?
And I hope so.
What do you think of the argument that solo players say they are locked out of group content because they either can't find people to play with or prefer to play by themselves?
I would have agreed with that. I would agree with that now more than before. I feel like, because I'm in a lot of Discords where there's like like I was in the Gyfin Discord where you did Miramok and Gyfin and now Olins or Turos, and people used to post there all the time. Now more than ever, I feel like over the last 2 to 3 years, it's shifted into like almost everybody has like a static group or 3 to 5 friends that they rotate with, and then they don't really talk to anybody else. It's a lot harder to find people in the looking for group Discords now than it's ever been, at least personally.
Yeah, because I had a someone in my chat was telling me how they are like locked out of like getting the merchant's ring because they can't do Olins, they can't find people, it's hard to schedule others, they just prefer to grind solo and stuff as well. Well, they mentioned the idea of possible creating like a solo version of Olins or a new grind spot that has a ring piece from Olins, basically like options, like solo options for all the group content in the game. What do you think about solo options for all of the group content? Would that make BDO better or worse?
I don't know. I think for the merchant ring specifically, yes, I think that is fine, because I think that a big problem is that like you want to grind for like 5 or 6 hours and your group can only grind for 1, and you're screwed. You know what I mean? But like, I think that on the whole, no, I don't think that that's a good idea. I think that there's plenty of solo content. There's no need to waste development time making yet like more solo content out of our group content. No. We want make group content out of solo content. Go the other way. We want it in reverse. You know what I mean? Like Boss Blitz is going to be moved to be like guild oriented. Okay, this is a win. Like that's a step in the correct direction. You can start with solo, but then make it party.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know if it's just like the way I am or what it is. I actually prefer that they don't have like an alternative method for everything. I feel like so many players go through the game having everything be every way they want it, and then like, oh man, I have to make a group for Olins, and I don't talk to anybody in this game, and I don't talk to my guild, I'm not in any parts of Discords, I can't get in a group, and I can't do it because I have to have a group. It's like, I don't know, part of the challenge of getting that object is finding that group. Like part of the challenge of doing Olins is having all your elixirs or having the gear. I think that's just another check in the requirements. Personally, I like making people have to get a group, as I've done almost like 1,500, 1,600 plus hours.
Is that why no one in BDO has the merchant ring? Is because none of us have friends? Like a requirement to get like the merchant ring is having friends. You know what I mean?
You could argue that some people make the excuse that, oh, I can't solo it, so there's just no point in going for it. I've probably heard that excuse many times. Oh, I'm not gonna go for it because I got to make a group for it.
Like,
I'm sorry, you have to make a group in an MMO. Like,
I feel like we have so much gear now that you can technically solo it.
You could just go solo Olins and it not be that inefficient. Yeah. I was literally thinking about doing it the other day. I was like, I wonder if I could just go solo Olins if I'm like waiting the 15 minutes while my group's taking a break, or if I'm like only going to grind for 30 minutes this morning, like maybe I'll just go solo it.
Because nowadays, like, I don't know if you've been in an Olin group nowadays, like regular Olins, they die. They're so freaking squishy nowadays.
I don't think I've seen that many normal Olin groups because everybody's going Dekia.
Yeah, everyone, because Deboreka earrings, right?
Between Debos and still the merchant ring, and at least you're making more profit. The Blackstones and stuff drop there too. It's just really good. I don't know. I think it's okay to require some things be a group thing. I know the game's been oriented around having everything be able to be done solo, and you never have to see another person. You never have to talk to another player in this game to access 99% of the content. And I think that's okay for 99% of the content. And I do prefer them to make me like, because I would never. Well, not that I would never, but it's likely that you'd have a lot of players that would never interact with another person if they didn't have to interact with another person. And I think that should be kind of pushed a little bit. I think it should be, the community should be pushed to work together to do things. Now, if you're just an irritable person and you can't find anybody to grind with you because you're just someone that nobody likes, I mean, I don't know what to say. That's kind of the penalty of being an irritable person. You have to learn to get along with people. I don't know.
I do think that there would be less people doing group content if there were solo options for
why would
the
you?
group content. You know, so I am biased towards keeping the group content as group group content.
Yeah, making alternatives for group content into solo content means that you're basically ripping from the people that may not want to make a group, but they'll do it because they have to, and ripping from the group members in general, which is lessening the population in total. Like, there are plenty of people that, and alternatively, we have kind of done that with Debos, right? Like, they made Aqua and Hystria, and there's some people that still prefer to do Olins because the drop rate is so vastly different. So I guess if, I don't know, if the trade-off was, yeah, you can grind for the Merchant Ring, but it's, 1/8 of the chance that it already was, and it's even rarer. I mean, I guess if the trade-off is like the time investment and the chances, then sure.
Actually, that's what that chat member said, that they wouldn't mind if there was a solo option. Like, they wouldn't care if it was like much lower chance, as long as there was a solo option. And so
I guess the real question is like, what stops them from getting a group, right? Between the 4 or 5 different public discords, getting to, along with people in your guild, going up to Olins and just asking people. I mean, I don't know. Some people are, get into a position where they just don't want to go through the effort, and that's fine too. But I feel like if you can't go through the effort of making the group or getting to be a part of a group for that content, then like, then you don't really want it either, right? Like I have to actively go out and constantly DM people, message people, and organize my groups because I have a limited window of playtime. And that's, to me, that's like part of the fun of doing the spot. It's like the work towards getting to do that thing. But if that's
true. If you really want to go for the thing you want to go for, whatever it is, and like IRL or in game, you're probably gonna make that effort to do it some way somehow.
Right.
So if you really want the Merchant Ring, you're gonna make the effort to find that group, however long it takes.
Yeah, and especially again, if 99% of the content in the game is solo, and you have to do this one thing in a group, okay, like that's all right. It's gonna be okay. It's optional too. You don't have to do it.
That does kind of make sense. Like, if there's like exclusive content for solo stuff, exclusive content for group stuff, also, it just makes sense to have like exclusive things, exclusive content for both solo and group. That just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, no one's forcing you to go for the Merchant Ring. That's a personal choice.
Yeah. Sorry, I got an interesting email there. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I would completely agree. I think that, like, I don't know, I just want more group content. I want more stuff to do in the game. I think there's just too much solo stuff to do. I mean, like, you can already do everything solo. I don't want any more solo stuff. I want group stuff. Now, that being said, if they're going to design content, ideally, obviously, you design it for both. What kind of solo content would you guys like? What kind of solo PvE content would you guys like to see that we don't already have? If you say grinding in circles with different colored golems, I'm gonna lose it. You understand?
Okay, I don't know if this would be like possible or something that they could do, but have you guys ever played Hearthstone?
Oh, yes. I love Hearthstone.
Okay, so they had this game called Arena Mode, and every time you beat like, a person,
right now,
the next in the middle of your battles, you would be able to draft 3 different cards, like 3 extra options or whatever, right? Like, choose from 3 different options. And I feel like it would be cool to have like some sort of like arena or gauntlet kind of mode in BDO for solo players, to like, hey, you start off with this, and then if you beat this stage, the next stage you get to choose between 3 different power-ups or something like that, and then you keep going until you reach the end. And if you can beat the end, you get some sort of reward, or they could even make, I don't know if they could even make it for like
you're talking about PvE, right? Like against monsters.
Yeah, PvE.
Okay, so
I was thinking like in the middle of my thought that maybe they could make it for PvP too. Like, it would be 2 players against each other, and then every time they beat one another, they would get 3 different power-ups. So I always thought those kinds of modes were really fun. Those sort of, what is it called? Is it roguelikes? Is that
No,
like
it's
part of
like
the genre? Is a roguelike
you
mode?
progress through something, you get like these passive effects, and then the next run, like you're
and then you start over.
like you're rerunning over again. Yeah.
yeah, and you just keep getting it. Like every time
More
you win a
powered
round,
up.
you get to upgrade. Yeah, you get to power up.
Mhm.
That would be pretty
That'd be
sick for
cool.
PvE. I think in PvP, I think the game mode would be fun when it came out. I don't know if people would like that. It would make 1v1s kind of interesting
Like-
though.
Like a witches token, like if the witches token was like a few like
Shadow
6
Arena.
more waves, but
No.
also with more stuff, like that
Yeah, they
thing.
could rework Arethia's Limbo because Arethia. I don't know the last time I think I did the last time I did it was like 2021 when it
Yeah.
came out. I don't think
It's
I did it
not
ever.
really worth it. It's not worth your time, I don't think.
Probably not. Well, hold on here. I have another idea for a game mode. Here we go. So you spawn in and you have to like go to like all the characters are like crystallized, right? Randomized around the map. You go into one of the characters, you become that character, then you have to run around and you have to fight in an arena of like, I don't know, 40 to 60 people, and you have to kill
That would
other
be
people, and the
cool.
last person standing wins. And then you can get power-ups and like loot drops for like killing
Yeah, what if
bosses
you
and
killed
stuff.
monsters for loot drops? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. Honestly, I think
That
as a
sounds awesome.
standalone game, I think it would be juiced.
Standalone game. Oh, no.
That sounds awesome. And you can like get rewards in BDO for partially doing it
Wait a
or
minute.
something.
Yo, that's the first time I've ever gotten a raid from Black Desert Game. So I have to say something.
She.
Yo, thanks to the raid coming in from Black Desert Game. That's probably Thursday Night Live, if I had to guess. That's my boy
Yep.
Etsu Moon. We love Etsu. We used to be good friends, and then he became a CM. And then he said he could never
and then
talk
we
to
can't
me
be
again.
friends anymore.
Yeah, and then he said he could never talk to me again. It's nothing personnel, kid. It's just good business or something like that. But yeah, thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate that. You're absolute units. But yeah, okay, all right. So honestly, I liked Jay's idea for a game mode. I would do that all
That
the
would
time.
be really cool.
If it had
That would
really
be a
good
lot of fun.
rewards, like if it got like 600 mil an hour or something, like you could just spawn in. You spawn in with like Tuvala gear at the start, you know what I mean? And then like you win a round, you have to beat a boss, you win a round, and then you can power up your character in like a unique way. Like like your skills get like an electricity effect after them, or like I don't know, like something that stuns the enemy
fun
or something.
thing could be that it's random every time, right? I mean, that's what people like in their grind is like the fact that
Dude,
every
it's
hour is
repeatable.
different.
It's
You
repeatable.
get a drop or something, and I think that'd be really cool. Like random stuff, yeah.
Could be random classes too. Like you have to pick or you choose between like 3 random classes. Like out of the 24, you have to choose. Like they give you 3 to choose from, and then I don't know. You start with the basic abilities too, and then you can also unlock
exactly
3. You know,
you unlock
like
your
rolling
abilities and stuff.
So.
Yeah, like you get an ability upgrade, or you get like extra stuff. This would be a relative. I feel like this is like a reasonably easy game mode to implement, and this is endless hours of entertainment because, like you said, it's different every time. And also, I don't have to pop. I don't have to pop 30,000 different things to start doing it. Bro, that's the biggest problem with me right now with grinding. Is like, dude, like I want to go grind, but bro, the setup for grinding, it's like, it's not like, do you have an hour? It's like, do you have like an hour and a half? Because like you have to ride out there, and then you have to count the 2 trips back to Heidel because you forgot something. And then you have to go back to the grind, and then you start your grind.
You grab that Carolyn buff on the church.
15 minutes in, you realize you're running with your 50% tent buff, but forgot to activate your loot scroll. You know what I mean? Like it's like and about at the 27-minute mark, you forgot that your Veil's Heart wasn't on, and then like, oh,
I need a checklist in BDO. They need to implement like a little checklist.
No, they need to just simplify it, Jay. Stop. No more. No. To just bring it all down to one thing. Okay, I click one button, boom, I can grind now. We're good to go. But okay, yeah, I mean, like, okay, now I'm gonna hit you with a hot take, okay? So like we talked about solo versus group stuff, and we talked primarily about PvE. A lot of people would say that the game is kind of stepping away from solo content in general, especially in PvP. Like with the recent buffs where like people can't just like feed you to mobs or just run around griefing you. Like, do you guys think that there's a place for that in BDO? Because I'll admit, back in the Saucons era, it was kind of cool that every white dot on the map, you were like, hey, you're like a crab from Finding Nemo. Like you'd see a white dot on the map, you're like, hey, you know what I mean? Like trying to defend your spot. from everybody that came in. And nowadays, it's just not like that. You see a white dot, and you're like, oh, another person. The other rotation's open. You know what I mean? Like, go over there. Like, do you miss
you want to
that
bring
at
back the
all?
Sazan days?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily want to bring them back,
during
but
the
like,
Sazan days.
but like, do you miss those days at all? Like, I mean, like, Blonde, were you there? I don't think Jay was there. Like, Blonde, do you remember the days?
I was there 3,000 years ago. Yeah. I think that there's a time and a place for like solo PvP content. In BDO Mobile, they literally have like a 1v1 arena that it is some of the funner content to do. They have like a 1v1 and a 3v3 and all this stuff. So I think that there is a time and place, and it would be cool if they made more methods. Just obviously they'd have to be looking at like the main thing always is balancing and making sure everything's like appropriate and decent for everybody to at least have an opportunity. I think they could do something like that, where they can, make more methods and modes. I think PA is obviously definitely moving away from any open world 1v1 content or just, one person going and just trying to fight random people in general. As more people push the line, PA is going to push even harder back, and over the last few changes, they've pushed really hard back on it, so I think that PA is just going to hold their stance firm, and that's just going to be the way it is. But I think that, there should be content for all kinds of different players in this game. They do a really good job of getting a lot of content in this game for so many players. So there's no reason why they couldn't, try to get something that would be motivating or fun for people that, just want to play their one class and just fight other people or do random stuff like that.
Okay. All right. So we talked a lot about the solo versus group content. I know that there's a lot that goes into that. But now we want to talk about immersion, which is something that people meme on a lot in BDO, and we touched on it in our last topic a little bit. But like when you talk about the idea of immersion in this MMO, in this game, do you like immersion? Do you like the idea of immersion, or do you think it's cringe? Would you rather it be more like break the fourth wall, we don't care as much, take itself less seriously kind of deals? Blonde, I'll start with you since I started with Jay for the last one.
I personally really like immersion. As much as I love like having like a cool cyberpunk outfit in a fantasy setting, I think that I think immersion is important. It is kind of weird when you're playing a game and everything's a fantasy setting, and then you have some dude coming up like in a giant robot mech suit, or some rainbow plushy unicorn dog floating cloud mount or something. So the most like, and once you cross the line, I think it's like too over. But in Lost Ark, they started with like the traditional kind of like fantasy stuff, and then eventually they just started releasing plushy costumes and dino outfits and all this stuff. And I think that those can be fun if you want to cross that line and you want to get to that point. But I feel like if you're setting a fantasy genre and we're already there, and there's no real reason to cross that line, I don't think it's necessary, especially because, like, again, the immersion, it is really weird seeing someone in some bright neon crazy outfit come up. And I know we can dye costumes, so it's kind of already in the game. But I don't know. I think it's just, they don't need to cross that line. Some people would say that the academia outfits or whatever, the normal plain clothes for scholars or whatever, the school kid outfits or whatever, is breaking immersion, but like I don't necessarily think so. I think that's still technically within the realm of like, it's maybe more modern, but it's still not like, again, a giant plushy suit or something. I think that once you like hit a certain limit, it's like, okay, like the line has obviously been crossed, and that's unfortunate. I personally like immersion, and I think if they want to stay in the fantasy of that realm or that idea, I personally like that. But is it going to ruin my game? If they ruin if they do it against that,
costume was such a good immersion.
Okay. The Bugatti costume was kind of silly.
Bugatti.
But they made it. They made it a knight's outfit.
My Bugatti.
They made it a knight's outfit. In the cursed event, everything was thematic to BDO, and also the Berserk event, everything was costumed. Like everything was really like spot on. I think there's a few costumes. I think the Tamer has like some cyberpunk outfit where she looks like she got like a Daft Punk helmet or whatever and some cat ears or whatever. I think there's some things that are like kind of pushing the line again, but it's not to the point where it's like too far. And that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, if you like immersion breaking stuff, like, be my guest. That's just me personally, to each their own, right?
I think there's just like a very broad definition of immersion, since it's something that people experience, and people can have different subjective feelings towards the same experience. But you know, there are some very like widely agreed aspects of immersion that we can probably list, like, you know, full voice acting, um, custom animations, really cool, gorgeous environments, a deep and rich story, and these aspects are very good at, you know, selling a particular and detailed world, you know. And I think immersion is like less of, it's like less of a game mechanic, but more like a process. Like we're building a relationship with the character we're playing and the world that we're exploring. And if we're able to be immersed in that way, then you know the things we do in the game, like the places we explore, the characters we interact with, they feel more meaningful. Like we're able to sympathize easier with the characters. And one game in particular that does that really well, you know, is Baldur's Gate 3. If anyone's played that, like a lot of like the random side characters you meet, you might think it's like a one and done situation with them, and you're never going to see them again after that side quest. And then turns out in the next act they're somehow connected to the main story or something, and then the final act they have some sort of like conclusion, and then they join you in the final battle against the main antagonist. It's awesome, you know. And one particular character that sort of like reminded me of that moment was Fugar. I don't know if you guys probably know Fugar. He's like the season NPC, right? And he has this quest line where you're tasked to find out what happened to a particular NPC called Perilla. And this is the NPC or quest line to get the Perilla star, right? The alchemy stone. And they were apparently lovers, but they had an argument a long time ago, and she disappeared. And you find a chain of clues that eventually leads you to Ilia Island, and you find out from the residents that she died to a terminal disease. And you find out the reason why she decided to leave Fugar was because she didn't want herself to become his burden when she gets more sick due to the disease. So she made the decision to intentionally argue to have a reason to leave. And then at the end, you're made with a choice on whether to tell Fugar the truth or lie that she's living her best life. And for anyone who's like, spoiler alert, you probably just spammed R, so you didn't read it anyway, so you need to roll a star. So, but those kinds of moments of discoveries in BDO make me feel immersed into the game. And it makes me feel more like meaning into these characters. And I know certain people don't care so much about the lore, but that's what I meant earlier. But you know, some people have different experiences with immersion in different video games or in BDO. I remember, Blue, didn't you have like this one story where you you were like the first person to discover like the dead tree essence or something like that a long time ago? Would you say that was like an immersive experience for you in BDO?
It was a massively immersive experience. Well, it was, I don't know if that was necessarily immersion, as it was just like I felt like an adventurer exploring the world, and that I had found something that no one else had found yet. And like it was like a cool piece of unique knowledge that I had, and knowledge is power, or in this case silver. And I thought that was really cool. I don't know if that's as much immersion. I was seeking immersion at the time, because the reason that I stumbled upon it is because I was like, I'm gonna make everything myself. I'm gonna do it yourself, or I'm gonna make it myself. I'm not gonna buy anything off the market for a while. And I was making Weenie Looney elixir, so I needed moss tree sap for that, and no one knew where the moss trees were. You guys probably don't even know where the moss trees are. So I had to go out and find them. You know what I mean? That's immersion. That's really cool. I will say that, like you said, there's different like scales of immersion. So like you have like Elden Ring is probably like my go-to example for like you log into the game and it's just like all encompassing. You feel like you're a part of the world that you're in, because like the graphics are so close. And like the lore and the story is so rich, you know what I mean? The boss fights feel so epic. You feel so immersed in what's going on. Your eyes are just glued to the monitor. You know what I mean? BDO's not as much like that. I would, obviously the graphics aren't as great, but like we're missing like that gripping storyline. You know what I mean? And we're missing cutscenes that are actually good. I've said this many times. If you want us to get immersed in your story, I mean, they have a pretty good story. I'll admit it's okay.
True.
It's like a 5 or 6 out of 10. But like they could make it. You can make a 5 out of 10 into a 10 out of a 10 with some nasty good cutscenes.
True.
Yeah,
if
like
they
fully
just
rendered, like World of
exactly.
Warcraft-esque
Thank you.
cutscenes. Where
Stop the in-game graphic cutscenes, man. I've said this so many times. It's garbage. It's and their excuse every time is immersion, which is why I'm touching on this. Well, we don't want players to we want them to feel immersed. Like, oh yeah, that's in the world that I play in. No, dumbass. I want you to give it to me like literally as real as it can look. That's what makes it immersive, right? As real as you can make that cutscene, that's what makes it immersive to me. Like, it's so cool. I want to watch Jordan take off that guy's head in a gory fashion and not with the in-game graphics. I want to see him literally lop that dude's head off and then hold it up. You know what I mean? With the blood dripping and stuff. Just like, again, like the WoW cinematics, or like, again, any of the Blizzard cinematics, any of the Riot cinematics. Honestly, Naraka's cinematics are amazing too. I can't think of a game that has worse cinematics than BDO, and it's because they think that they should be using the in-game graphics, and they're terrible. This is one thing they're just bad at as a company. They just absolutely need to get better at this. They need to just scrap the old way of doing it and make it better, because it would make their story better. It would help us feel more like attached to the storyline, which helps with that immersion step. You know what I mean? I don't know. How do you feel, Bill?
No, yeah, I completely agree. The scale of immersion is definitely real. Between like quest lines, discovering something in the game, I emphasize costumes because it's like the first thing that comes to my mind. But yeah, the cutscenes, there is nothing more epic than like. As much as I was disappointed at Pandaria's ending, the intro cinematic to Warlords of Draenor, as much as I didn't like the expansion, was one of one of my all-time favorite ones, where he's like pulls off his hood and he's like, times change, you know, and oh my god, it was like that again, for as much as I didn't like it, I still use like the gif where Garrosh is saying times change, because it's such an epic cinematic gif that's just
All of them are epic.
Every time it gives me chills. Yeah, all of them are all really, really good. That's true. Even the redone cinematics that they did for Diablo 2 were incredible. Like, that just changes, like, more than anything that got me into Diablo 2 is just the lore and the cutscenes. I played the game and the grinding wasn't that fun, but the fact that I felt like I was in that game because of those cutscenes was like, oh, I'm loving playing it. Just because of a cutscene. I didn't think it could do that to me. Bro, I didn't think I could be manipulated that way.
I legitimately, I bought Diablo 3 and played it with my friends, and I hated it after, like, it was great for the first, like, 20 hours or so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say your guys' renders just kind of, like, re-rendered. Anyway, it was great for, the first, like, 20 hours or so. And then I was like, I hate this. And then Diablo 4 came out, and I was like, no. I'm not spending $60 again. You can't do it. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, all right, we might be spending $60 again. Because like that's how
immediately
good it is.
Bought into it.
You know what I mean? I didn't. I held back. I didn't. And now I can just laugh at everybody because they bought it and had fun and I didn't. But again, it looked like it was the same experience. They had fun for like honestly like 100 hours this time, and then everybody stopped having fun after that point. But like you need that kind of like engrossing like cinematic to like pull people in. And I think that we're really missing that from BDO. We're also missing, like, if you really want me to feel immersed, you need to make me feel attached to my class. They do such a poor job of, like, giving your class, like, identity, like, that you can relate to. We're all playing our classes, whether you like it or not. You're playing your class typically because you can relate to it on some level, or you want to relate to it on some level. Some people never find a class because, again, they don't have one that they jive with on that sincere level, you know what I mean? But like they need to come out with like actual class quests that make sense, not like you get to the
like
end
an
of
origin
Succession
story
quest line,
or something.
not the end of the Succession quest line again. Oh my god, Elezra again? No, like shut up, dude. Actually make a quest line that is unique to the class. Give it unique class quest line, and then for completing like the various quests or like discovering these quests, like if you go out and adventure on a Dark Knight and then you discover one of the Vadir out in the world, they might give you a hidden quest. That hidden quest, you take that hidden quest to completion, you get a custom skin for your Dark Knight.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how in depth the character, all the different classes have really, really in depth backgrounds, but like you just kind of are spammed to get your abilities and you don't really learn about it other than the text dialogue. Like Witch and Wizard are literally from another dimension, right? And that's not even emphasized like at all. Like, it's like, bro, that's really cool. Can we learn more about that? Nope. Read it in a paragraph somewhere in the
So annoying, dude.
archives.
Yeah, and no one's
It's like, okay.
no one's gonna do that. I'll tell you right now,
Right.
as a high school teacher, it's if it's longer than a 90-second TikTok, it's over. Okay.
It's
God forbid it's text on a page. Okay, you don't even require the textbook anymore. Let's be real, right? How
Yeah.
many of us actually open the textbooks that we buy for like college or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes the professor will like require us to read the book, and you'll find some cheeky way around it. Nobody opens books. Nobody reads anymore. It's got to be visually on the screen in front of you. It's got to be so good that I want to go read. Like I'll go read
Yep.
some of the Elden Ring lore, but that's because again I've already been baited in by like the cinematics and stuff. Yeah, like
Mhm.
it just is what it is. But like there's other aspects of immersion too. Like part of the reason I like life skilling is because immersion. It makes me feel like I'm a part of the world. You know, I'm building something. One thing I miss from the game right now is crafting. I used to love crafting stuff. Like it was one of my favorite things to do. Like I would go out and I would make like Grunel, you know what I mean? Or I would make like hides and stuff. I'll be honest, hot take, PvE grinding, not immersive at all. I don't feel immersed or part of the world or whatever. The mobs are just respawning and I'm grinding money. That's the least immersive part of the entire game for me. I feel more immersed when I'm in Node Wars and Siege because I'm like fighting. Part of the reason I like War of the Roses. Isn't it great, dude?
That is an immersive experience. I experienced it last week. That was so crazy.
I know, for the 30 minutes that it happened.
Listen, well, it was like 45. Okay, it was a little bit longer this time. It was a nice 45. You know, almost an hour. That was freaking awesome. Definitely imbalanced and could use a lot of changes, but like, man, that was fun. And you're just running to these bases, tons of people coming from all the different sides interacting. Then there's like a mob in the middle and you're trying to kill it while killing other people. Oh man, that felt awesome.
So you were on Show's team?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a better experience for you. Yeah.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're fighting across an entire like continent.
It's
right?
huge.
You're pushing them back across an entire continent, which is really, really cool. You feel like a part of something that's bigger than yourself. You know what I mean? And like I said, you get to play with people that are like not normally like PvPers, or like, and maybe you're not normally a PvPer and you're kind of just running around and
dude, I ran around and I was killing every mob I saw. Dude, when I went into the castle, there was like 20 mages casting everything. I went to each and every outpost and killed all those mages so that they wouldn't be bombing everybody in the middle. And I was like, I'm doing my part. Like, I felt great. I was like, PvE mode activated. I'm saving lives.
Where's Blob? Find epic. The mobs, bro.
Dude, it was so good.
Jay, what about you? Did you get to do War of the Roses this week?
I did not get in. I did.
Oh, winners win, I guess.
Sometimes the RNG against you.
Yeah, losers lose. So yeah, that's what it is.
Maybe next time.
It is a tremendously fun time. I got to shoutcast it with Etsu.
Yeah. I was actually watching while I was in it.
I know.
I tried to stand in the camera a few times. I was like, yeah, what up?
It's difficult.
Maybe they should just have a shoutcast like you know, they should host the shoutcast every time.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's kind of a good idea.
Week. I would shoutcast it every week. You think I won't?
That'd be pretty good because like you can have just like kind of a different perspective and you can see certain things that, you know, like when you're in the game mode, you're only seeing like one side of it, right? When you're like looking at it from like a top down, there's so much more like that you can see.
It helps it feel more grandiose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when you can see both sides. Event. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, look at this battle. Between two regions. Okay, now let's do Valencia and Calpheon because we know that those two want to eat it.
What would we call it? War of the what?
War of the long ass run. Okay.
It'd probably be War of the Black.
You're talking. Are you kidding me right now? At least Kama and Odie are adjacent. Ish, you know what I mean?
Isn't it literally the like war of over Blackstone? So it gets the resources and stuff.
Valencia's strategy is you're not crossing the desert. You know what I mean?
Well, don't they call it there's two names for the desert, if you didn't know, in like lore wise. There's the Black Desert and there's the Red Desert. Valencia calls it the Red Desert because in the past there was a lot of blood that was shed during the war. That's why they call it the Red Desert, because blood. And then everybody else calls it the Black Desert because of the black stones, right? I guess that's where the majority of the blackstone deposits are. And so maybe it could be another like Black Desert, Red Desert situation. Isn't that what they do it in what's it called? Red Battlefield? That's what they call it. They call it Red Desert and Black Desert, right? So
Yep.
The biggest Red Battlefield, War of the Red Battlefield or something.
In traditional BDO terms, you have to make it some random color that no one understands. One of the biggest question I get is, why is it Black Desert? The desert isn't even black. And I'll be honest, they should have thought that through, man. Like, I don't.
It's because of the blackstones. The meteor that landed and shattered all the blackstones everywhere.
Shut up.
One of the most important resources in the entire game.
Shut up. Nobody cares. Yeah, nobody cares. R. Yeah, nobody cares. If you name it Black Desert, we're
online.
expecting a black desert. Okay, I know it's about some dumbass blackstone shit. Nobody cares. All right,
so
show me the black.
So if we
dunes.
just recolored the sand, everything would be all right.
Correct.
All right.
Show me
I mean, I think that'd look really cool.
Wouldn't that be? Yeah. Wouldn't that have just
like an
been
eternal
cooler?
darkness desert, just dark
and then there's
sand
cracks
everywhere.
in the sand with like yellow beams of light shooting through. You know what I mean? As you
Maybe
go
that'll
through
be the demon
desert.
zone. Maybe they'll make the demon zone scary like that.
Stop it!
All just dark and
Don't tease
ominous.
Me. Like, that's not it. Okay. As far as very quickly changes on the global apps. Biggest quality of life change I've ever seen. Auto move to storage will auto move to any storage. You just click the button once and it'll go to wherever storage the item is in.
Nice.
What?
It's crazy. No more inventory management. It's over, Jay.
That's nice.
It's
over.
So just like
There was another good change in there too.
Mm-hmm. You click auto move to storage and that's it. And I guarantee you it's because they saw me. I'm like, hey guys, look at this cool way I can organize my storages. Like, I have like all my storages organized.
Inventory.
Well, fuck yeah, exactly. So I have this nasty inventory, right? I'm like, guys, look at me organize my inventory. And then I have all my stuff organized
they really
into the
are
different
out here
storages.
helping players like Blue.
I click auto move to storage. I click on the next city, auto move to storage, click on the next city, auto move to storage, click on the next city, auto move to storage. And I guarantee you, a CM was like, bro, we got to help him with this. This is embarrassing.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? I would go through every city in the game. It would move all my stuff to storage. And I was like, look how fast that was. I had no idea.
I've never actually
the
used
technology has reached
the auto move.
I can just click one button.
I just keep my inventory clean so that I don't have to do.
Yeah, same. I'm a clean kind of guy when it comes to my inventory.
Oh my god, well, we all don't spend 3 hours in Heidel warming up through ERP every day like Jay does.
Listen, healthy life. Healthy RP, healthy life.
Yep. I lost the BDO Ninja's bugging out again. Please don't.
That's okay. I think we're wrapping up, right?
Yeah. We're at the very end of the podcast anyway. So give me clothing thoughts. Give me clothing thoughts. Jay.
Clothing thoughts. Is that I'm BDO. Yes, I love BDO. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JCoodVTV. I wasn't ready. For clothing.
What do you mean? You were the one that was like, well, we're out of time anyway. And I was like, okay, yeah, closing thoughts.
You said clothing. You stumped me with the clothing thought.
Okay, closing thoughts. Jay, go ahead. Try again.
Okay. Closing thoughts is that, yes, more group content. Solo content is great, but we love group content around here. And I'm preparing for my VTuber debut tomorrow at 4 p.m. PST. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JCoodVT, V before the T.
Okay, and Blonde?
Group content's okay. Make some friends. Join a guild. It's gonna be all right. There should be more group content. We have plenty of solo player content. It's okay to find a group, try to make some friends, find people that have similar interests and goals, and work towards achieving them. And immersion is important. If they cross the line, they cross the line. But I think that the way it stands is immersion's important. Immersion is good, and hopefully they work to improve, cutscenes and other things to make them better. I like the direction they're going, and I hope they just keep getting better. You can catch me at twitch.tv/blondebear, and I am grinding for the merchant ring.
Still.
Yeah, still. We'll be grinding there. We have a nice static group every morning. I'll be streaming almost always, and we're doing a few hours every day. We're just chilling and grinding at this point. So, yeah.
Let's go.
Right on. Okay, and I am Blue Squadron. There's always something happening on this channel. We got a good announcement right after this too. Put up my socials. There's always 2 YouTube videos every day. I was sick the last 2 days, but that did not stop the YouTube train. There was still plenty of YouTube content to put out. So there's always 2 YouTube videos every day. And typically I'm streaming 5 to 6 days a week. Last week it was 6. And I can't put my code in. But from all of us here at the Old Moon Podcast, have a wonderful rest of your week.